Honorable sisters and brothers, this is spontaneous and unrehearsed. I am going to make this video in order to sort of be up to date as far as what I have achieved and my claims and demands for justice, especially by our Constitution, etc. If you recall, and those who, in my opinion, at least have the intellect and interest and justice and demand for justice also, and that is, I have in my lifetime achieved, and I had a card, I've done more good in more fields than any man in the history of the U.S. J. Edgar Hoover, that immoral, I have to say this, which is the truth now, he was a liar, immoral, grand theft artist, especially of yours truly's tremendous achievements and the value of them. I have and it's in my name, and I have the copyright rights to it. It's the greatest scandal. And that is, of course, what I have achieved in Hoover's crimes. Now, I prefer to just delve. Now, I was Doc C PhD company. Now I'm semi-retired. Now, my main interest is in the challenge of the discipline of theology. And in my opinion, it's more disciplined than the other disciplines. Some of them are undisciplined, like politics, and that intelligence racket is horrible. They do things all illegal and crimes, etc. Now, what I then will emphasize is that in the discipline of theology, and man's greatest challenge, in my opinion, I thought, again, in my opinion, I had achieved the highest step, so to speak, in the partly disciplined discipline of science, especially in physics and mathematical physics and theoretical concepts and theoretical mathematical physics, and then in advanced concepts and theoretical mathematical physics. Now, so I'm somewhat retired in that semi-disciplined of theoretical mathematical physics, etc. So especially inventions. There are many horror stories of people being forcibly robbed from their inventions. Now, in the discipline of theology, theology is the study of all beliefs. This is the challenge, in my opinion, man's greatest challenge. How did we get here? Why are we here? What's best to do? And now, to bring that up to date now, as far as the past semi-retired Doc C PhD company, there was the putting forth hydrogen fusion energy, modernizing, as I said politely then, now I just speak bluntly, correcting Einstein's irrational thinking about light had to be the ultimate universal velocity. There is phase velocity and group velocity, which is greater. There are instances of obtaining particles that are an increment greater than the velocity of light. And there have been faster than light clubs. And then there are, theoretically at least, there are particles that by at least theoretical mathematical physics you can put forward that are, of course, using, as I insisted, and then Einstein agreed with me, of a capital C. It's capital X prime equals capital X minus V squared over the capital C squared. I'll repeat that for emphasis. You see, Lorentz was little x prime equals x minus vt over the square root of 1 minus v squared over c squared, c to little c, velocity of light. And then I'm modernizing it, capital X prime equals capital X minus v squared over the square root of 1 minus v squared over capital C squared. Here, capital C is equal to or greater than little c, the velocity of light. And he agreed with me, and we were going to go forward towards unified field theory. But then the night before we were supposed to start working, and he was called then a pinko, and Hoover did not like him, wouldn't work on any secret project. And yours truly was working at the highest possible level in various disciplines. And he dropped dead the night before we were supposed to start working together. And my opinion is Hoover knocked him off. Now, I've been forced to be the unknown man forcibly in construction engineering. And who am I? Well, how could I be like in construction engineering, an inspector, say, in civil engineering and so forth, and have this ability in advanced concepts of theory of mathematical physics? That was the way he did it. And then I took and said that we have, you can have rho prime, my rho prime equals his rho, my m prime v prime r equals his mvr. And then as I explained to him, that the perfectly balanced, Compton proved that there's momentum. In my opinion, if you have momentum, you must have mass, and his book of relativity falls. Now the book is put back on that perfectly balanced fulcrum, and now it falls again, but he can't find why. It's because the particle is less, say 50% of any particle he knows of, but the velocity is at least an increment, say like even 1% or 10% greater than the velocity of light. So he can't detect that, but the book falls. This is the way I put it forward. And we were beginning towards a unified field theory, but then, as I said, he dropped it the night before. What a coincidence. Now, what I then have done since that time is I have put forward about 6 plus or minus variations of my unified field theory. In the last century, I was always working in this century. By 1960, I was already, at least in this century, going towards the 25th century. Do you understand? It's always at least 25 years ahead of, say, the average public may discern. And then as far as advanced concepts in theoretical mathematical physics in the next century or even future centuries. So by 1960, I had put forward a unified field theory. By 1970, it was getting so bad, the hyping of Einstein, you know, and he's always, everything was going to Einstein, thought of it and all that. He had none, as far as the laser beam, none. The laser beam is absolutely my original work. You can talk about rays and beams and so forth, but the optical pumping of obtaining a laser beam in phase is my original work. Electrification of electromagnetic radiation, absolutely my original work, going forward into now the 21st century towards the 25th century. Absolutely. But before that, I put forward Xerox for Hoover, I say for Hoover, to copy secret coded messages. I worked for Eastern Dakota Experimental Development Lab and put forward Xerox, delete the NE. I suppose DuPont d'Amour is the greatest scientist. Someday maybe I might be a great scientist. And Xerox. And then when I saw he was copying it, I changed the Z to X. X is the independent variable of mathematical physics, Xerox. That's why there was a confusion. Little store started with Xerox with a Z and then changed to the X, because that's the way Hoover did it, was forcibly take my work and delve it to others, because he wanted me to, for what I could do in the intelligence racket. And I didn't think that was right. And I wanted to replace him because, at least on the moral grounds, and then etc., as crimes. And then he experimented Americans to death. And he experimented my brother to death by even using German scientists here on like twins. Hoover was a criminally insane, injurious, murderous fiend. Really, he was a woman hater and he experimented women to death. Absolute truth. What I'm telling you, you put this on a voice stress analyzer, absolute true facts. Now, this, I might be able to get 15 minutes now, they say. So it's at 10 minutes. So I'll continue. And that is now in the discipline of theology. How did we get here? Well, as I asked Einstein, I says, well, where did this matter come from? And he thought carefully, and he then said, it's just here. Now, you think of this. Here is supposed to be, my day, they used to say he was the god of science. Here is a man supposed to be the expert, supposedly of all time, of matter. And he's saying that inert matter, understand what I'm saying, inert matter is just here. How did it get just here? Well, inert matter, by definition, cannot create itself. It's inert, it cannot create itself. So how did this inert matter get here? There had to be a supernatural power. Isn't that correct? Those who are believers say, well, this supernatural power is what we say is God, the creation power of God. It's the best explanation, in my opinion. And when we get into theology, I say my humble opinion. Now, they say, well, how did God get here? Well, now you have to have some knowledge of various religions. And in the religion I studied, and now I am preacher doc now, and universal pure Christians. Not that we are purer than anyone else. It's just that I had the purest, the clearest comprehension, interpretation, definitions, and presentations of the proofs of God and Christ's divinity. Do you understand? And that's what I put forward, was proofs. And there's at least 40 divine miracle proofs, and I put them forward. Now, what Christ said, when he was asked that by the apostle that wanted to be like him, said, how can I be like you, Jesus? And he said, you don't know what you ask. Meaning humans are humans of this world. His paradise is not of this world. Well, how do you get there or be like him? He says, you have to believe. Do you understand? He says, if you believe in the divinity of God and me as the Son of God, you obtain salvation. And when you obtain salvation, you will then be divine. In other words, you have to be divine to be able to understand, comprehend, and be divine. You cannot be divine as any natural in this universe, no matter what. And Hoover, one of the experiments on my brother was to try to see if he could keep track of his spirit when he died. Absolute truth. He experimented to death on Christmas Day when Christ comes into the world and my brother was leaving this world. That's what a fiend Hoover was and those around him. Now, I've tried other than countries and systems. If this is this country, he's got the power. There's nothing I can do. Nobody, they're scared of him. Nobody will do anything, can't replace him. Then I was forced, well, and then they wanted that because I could go to another country and then they wouldn't like a religious man, would kick me out and so forth. I come back and then I'd have my opinion of them. Well, if they went there, they would kill them because they're, going in there to like spying them. I was going in there to see if they were going to be as good as some of them say they were. But they all have cliques, prejudice cliques, due to their prejudices and ethnic cliques. So we got here then by, in my humble opinion, divine power. Why are we here? Well, we're here now. Okay, we are here then to do what is best. And what is best, and that is each person is obligated to save their immortal soul. See, I'm now preacher doc, whether you like it or not, and that's what the truth is. In my humble opinion, we have to save our immortal soul. Then we can obtain eternal paradise and be like God and Jesus Christ in eternal paradise. And now I think I might be up to date and say to the believers, thank you.